Hey everybody, thanks for joining us. This is the Master Healing Technique or the Master Healing class. What are we calling this? I can't remember. Master Healing Technique, right? And so the last several weeks, we've been working with oils that are for autonomic function or helping to strengthen and tone the parasympathetic part of the nervous system, or the aspect known as rest and repair. And there's a reason why we've been kind of doing this is the parasympathetic part of the nervous system, and more importantly, the vagus nerve, plays an important role in our development, our connection between the incarnated soul and the higher soul, our connection between the heart and the crown. How the energy moves from the heart up to the crown to activate the upper center, so we have greater levels of oneness, greater levels of divine energy comes in, is dependent on some of our neurology. So with that, I'd like to do kind of an experiment. And I think the best way to talk about it is the nature of the mind, right? So there's different parts of the mind. We talk about the intuitive mind, we talk about the logical mind. The logical mind being the part of the mind that sees everything in details, sees our past experiences, the things we've memorized, the things we've learned. It draws a lot on what we know or things in the past, our habits, our behaviors, things of this nature. The intuitive mind is drawing upon something more that's beyond the senses. You're not drawing upon the past, you're drawing upon something that you perceive, or something that is kind of in the ethers, or something that's beyond your normal sensory kind of input. In between those two is a thing called the abstract mind. And you could say the abstract mind is able to perceive those things that are beyond the senses, but then can make sense out of it and either express it or apply it, right? So in a way, you could refer to this as processed wisdom. Now, here's the difficulty for anybody who's in a body, right? That logical mind, it's pretty strong, right? And it really sees things in details. It sees things in pieces. It sees things separately. It can't put together like a whole picture, right? When we start to see things from the abstract mind, we start to see a bigger part of the picture, and we can form strategies and kind of direct ourselves. And then when we even go into more of the intuitive mind, it really starts to see the big picture, right? It sees the big picture, but it's not able to apply it, So the center between the eyebrows is the abstract mind. And it's how we kind of are able to go from the intuitive to the lower mind, the part that is critical thinking or sees things in details. Now, you could say in Kabbalistic teachings that the lower mind is associated with the throat chakra, right? It's knowledge in Kabbalah. And so a deeper way of looking at it is that some of the experiences that lower mind draws upon are, for most people, based on our normal everyday living. But as a person spiritually grows and evolves, this throat chakra, the lower mind, it starts to have experiences based on the connection to the divine, the connection to the soul. And so the level or degree of the crown chakra being connected to the soul is directly reflected in the throat, in the lower mind, right? So what starts to happen is you start to have inner experiences, you start to have experiences outside your body in meditation or in prayer, you start to experience the divine, and that impacts the crown chakra. And then eventually you start to have experiences to draw upon that are not of the everyday world, but are of the inner world. And this starts to be reflected in the lower mind. And if you boiled it down, you're starting to experience oneness. You might at first experience oneness with a partner. You might experience oneness with your children or your parents, a dear friend, something that, really inspires you or moves you. And then it starts to branch out to even other people, other situations. And in a way, this starts to be the development or the cultivation of compassion, right? Compassion is not of the heart, it's of the crown, of the unconditional love that comes from the crown. So we kind of started tapping into this last week. I can't remember if it was here or if it was in Stara sessions. I honestly, they start to blur together for me sometimes. But, you have the prayer of St. Francis of Assisi, where there is darkness, I will cultivate light. Where there is sadness, joy. Where there is despair, hope, doubt, faith. So in a way, we're trying to cultivate these things, but the mind still sees things as out there, separate from in here, right? So even when we say we're cultivating it, it's still like, I'm going to cultivate it in here, and then out there, I'm going to try to make something happen, because we come from the logical mind. And, as I was reflecting on this a couple of times coming out of meditation, in the old days, we would say cultivate, right? But really, we want to have an interactive motion. We want to be able to feel inspiration here and have an interaction that inspires somebody else. Or if we're trying to have light here, we want to have light as we interact with somebody else. And through the interaction, it begins to cultivate, because it's not just that we want to experience and then share it. In the interaction, there is greater potential than what we could do on our own. Right? Even if it's love, I could feel love for somebody, but if I have interaction with somebody and they start to feel love, I start to feel love, there's greater love being felt, and it kind of starts to feed itself. It like starts to build on itself. And so really what we're trying to do is diminish the misperception of that things are not connected. We're trying to diminish the idea of separation. And the reason why we kind of have been going through this thing with the autonomic nervous system and going through with cultivating this rest and repair is, in that place, in that state, it's easier to feel connected than when we're in the action state or the fight flight state, right? The fight flight state is like, gotta put my guard up, gotta run, gotta take action, gotta hide, gotta freeze, whatever it is. When the parasympathetic state, it's more of, it's all good, it's just, everything's a little more chill. We want to start connecting to the good things in our surroundings. And even if there's negative things, we want to have an influence to let them improve and grow and become better, so that we don't have to figure out like, this person's being such a jerk. Why do I have to deal with this? And what can I do, right? Part of what we can do is be literally a vessel. Let energy pass through us, let the interaction happen, and have a deeper realization that separation is an illusion, right? And easier said than done, but we've been practicing stuff like this for quite a while. And we're going to be taking this whole idea of the physiology and how we interact to a much deeper level. And we have been working through some of the mystical practices, like the mystical foundation for healing and the mystical foundation for some of the other practices, right? The chakras, things like that. And now we're starting to look at even the self-protection, which really is a way to change how our energy bodies interact with other people, other situations, past events, current events, events that are in the process of happening even as we speak. And so what I'd like to do tonight is pull out the oils that you've been using over the last few weeks. And again, I'll state a list: lemongrass, tarragon, anise, sage, marjoram, ENS support, no sweat. And if you don't have any of those, even the rosemary verbena. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to look at situations externally and then internally, and then we're going to do things to try to connect it to a higher degree, right? Even if you look at the idea of lemongrass, we think about it like how it makes our body feel and how it stimulates lymphatic function and calms the nerves. If used in an area, it also helps to stabilize a chaotic environment, right? So all these different oils have some version of that, right? So what I'd like you to do is, it doesn't have to be a bad situation. It can be a good situation. Think of something external though. A person, an event, even if it's an event with a group of people, but something with people, a person or a group. And before you start inhaling, you're just going to observe that situation. You're going to observe that group, that person, your interactions. Just observe them for who they are or what they are. And as you're observing, begin inhaling your oil. Maintain your awareness and focus on that person or that group or that situation. You're still inhaling. Now let that situation go. Come back to your body. Your awareness is on your body, and check in with your spine. Feel it. Your whole spine, you're feeling it. Where do you feel a heaviness or denseness? If you don't, your awareness is then on the whole spine itself. You're inhaling with your awareness on your spine. What is it? Okay. Okay, now go back to the person or the situation, the group of people. It might be an older band, like they have different. Oh, because I did get it from two different distillers. Long, slow, deep breath. Come back to your spine. Feel it in your spine. Just let go of it for a moment. Explore your arms. You're not inhaling right now, but just from the shoulders down to your fingertips, kind of put your attention on the whole limb itself, especially on the inside, close to the bone. From the shoulder all the way down to the fingertips, like deep within the arms. And now begin inhaling. And just let that go for a moment. Just be still. Your legs, from your hips all the way down to your toes. Feel your legs. And then just be still. Think of that person or that situation again. And your awareness is on your spine. So you're doing both. Your awareness is on your spine and that person at the same time. Your awareness is on the person and your spine both at the same time. And you're taking long, slow, deep breaths. And then just pause and be still for a moment. Keep your eyes closed and just be still. I'm just going to keep talking for a moment. When we think of clairvoyance, we think of this idea of like, oh, I would love to be able to see the energy around a person. I would love to be able to see colors, right? Even intuition, it's like, oh, I would have intuition on what to do, or some piece of information would just kind of come in that I would have access without my senses. That is true, but there's mechanics to what we're talking about. And if we're always coming from the senses, then the information that you're gathering is of the senses, right? If we're starting to cultivate the intuition or the intuitive mind, you're still taking in some sensory information, but you're starting to get in more information. It's like you're becoming more observant, like more things are flowing into the mind. How a person's sitting, the tone in their voice, the way they look or with their eyes or don't look with their eyes, the things that they're talking about, you start to see all kinds of patterns that are not just sensory information. So sometimes we have a misperception of what intuition is, where, you know, information is coming in, but we maybe just go, well, I don't know what that is, or it's a weird random thought, when really the pipe is getting stretched and more information is coming in. As we increase this connection, your ajna is starting to process some of these other pieces of information. Now, here's the difficulty. You try to explain that to somebody, like you have this information coming in, and then you try to explain it to somebody who really doesn't have those faculties. It won't make any sense to them. They'll discount it because it's not of their senses, right? So it's almost like information that comes in that's for you, internal, but it allows you to put yourself in the right place at the right time, or to have the right interaction, to know what to say, to know what not to say. And more importantly, sometimes in situations, there's like a door that opens. And if the door's not open, you go, I have to wait. Like, I have to wait till that door is open before I can present this information or act on it or walked away from something, right? So you're starting to process different kinds of information. The more this pipe gets opened, it's not the hard, cold facts that the logical mind is used to. And you gotta kind of allow yourself to like explore some of these things, and you still want to validate them. There's information that you might hear from somebody that they feel very firmly about, but it's not very accurate, right? And so you almost start to get a sense of what is accurate and what's not, what has light in it and what does not have light. And so this is starting to a deeper degree, develop these more different aspects of the mind, different aspects of the brain. It's really hard to train somebody just like, oh, let's do this, because you got to cut through that logical mind somehow. And so, these mystical classes that we've been doing, and really the foundation that we've done over the last few years, has really been always walking toward this, right? And so you could say that you're starting to see through the eyes of the soul rather than the eyes of the lower nature. But it's not that we're walking away from the lower nature, because we need that information too, right? We need them both. And so this idea of this connection, this interactive connection, like if I want loving kindness, it needs to not just be in me or in some external act. I need to cultivate it in both simultaneously. If I want love, simultaneously. And I know that kind of makes sense, but most times to the mind, it's separate and separate, right? And why aren't we getting each other? Why isn't something connecting? It's because there is this illusion of separation. And so I'm going to have us practice this again, where we have the connection with the external person and our spine. It's important that it's our spine, by the way. And then as you're inhaling, I'm going to actually chant a mantra, right? Because we want to change our perspectives even to a greater degree. So your awareness is on the person, the situation, or the group of people, and your spine at the same time. Make that connection first. When you feel you have that connection, begin inhaling in through the nose, out through the mouth. Continue with the inhaling. Continue inhaling as I chant. Really try to stay focused on the other person and your spine at the same time. Om Tare Tu Swaha. 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 Om Tare Tutare Tur Swaha. Stop the inhalation for a moment. Silently affirm the divinity in me, the divine spark within me, the Christ consciousness within me, the Buddha nature in me, recognizes and salutes the divinity in you, the divine spark in you, the Christ consciousness in you, the Buddha nature in you. Let us be blessed with interactive loving kindness, interactive inspiration, interactive healing. We are connected. Separation is an illusion. Connect. person or that group. Your awareness is on your spine. Your awareness is on that person or that group and your spine at the same time. Like I feel it in my throat, but I'm not sure. Take long, slow, deep breaths. Long, slow, deep breath. And then just be still. Just let everything go. Just hear the mantra and be still. Begin inhaling your oil. You're not visualizing anything. You're not thinking about anything. You're just inhaling the oil. Om Tare Tu Swaha. 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 Just be still. You're still taking nice, long, slow, deep breath. Without building. Yeah. So let go of the inhalation and just kind of check in with yourself. See what you notice. You know, I just asked Samantha and she said it's very quieting. It's very like a peace or a stillness or
like the mental chatter.
like a right. She said mental chatter is quiet. Right?
The emotional stuff.
Yeah. Emotional things are quiet. You know, sometimes when you're on the path, you start to influence the people around you without your words. Sometimes even without your actions. It's just the connection starts to shift people around you. And the more that that's opened up, that channel or that pathway, your spiritual growth, your healing is not just you're breaking out of patterns, you're doing things different, but you're also starting to affect the people in a different way, not because of your mind, not because of the things you say, the things you do, but it's because of the connection and the flow of light, the cultivation of love, the cultivation of inspiration. And I know these are just theories or concepts that are out there, but just because we know them doesn't mean we put them in action. We really have to open up this idea of this interactive component. And as a person, it helps you to kind of put yourself in the right place at the right time. It starts to increase your ability to avoid things that might cause you harm. And difficult people who maybe were going to harm you might fall away quicker. And people who might have harmed you, but they just need a little healing, sometimes they come around without even having to do anything. So we'll use this as a little experiment. Later we're gonna, like in August, we're gonna start talking about the spiritual attributes of the vagus nerve and why to work it. And we've already been kind of working it, but to a much higher degree. And it reduces stress, it increases the connection to the soul. It does a lot of things that we really don't attribute to that little piece of our anatomy physiology. So anyway, even the idea of anxiety, it's not what we think it is. It's something different. You could look at it from the point of view of physiology and emotions and mental components, and all that helps. But on a deeper level, there's something a little bit more to that anxiety that sometimes we feel from time to time. But anyway, love you guys. Thanks for hanging out tonight. Take care.